Hello everyone, this is a webinar by Korvia Consulting. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we would like to talk about EPIK. EPIK is an English program in Korea specifically for public schools. It's a one-year contract and you will be placed anywhere in South Korea. So in this webinar, we will be talking about EPIK, of course, and eligibility, a few points in the application that a lot of people get confused with, and what needs to be included in a correct recommendation letter, and how to write a stronger personal essay as well as a lesson plan. So if you can say yes to all the 4 points, you are eligible for EPIK. First, you have to be a citizen from one of the 7 countries: USA, Canada, UK, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. If you're from South Africa, you must receive English education from 7th grade and up and submit a proof of English schooling. Second, you must have at least a bachelor's degree in any field. If you're still in school and have 1 semester left in university, you can still apply as long as you can submit a letter of intended graduation and have your diploma apostilled on time. Third, you cannot have any criminal record. It has to be clean, period. Finally, unless you're an education or ESL major, you have to have at least 100 hours of one of the 3 certificates: TEFL, TESOL, or CELTA. In-class hours are highly recommended, and if you want to go for Busan, you need to have at least 50 hours of in-class, and the Gyeongnam province requires at least 20 hours. If you're still in the process of completing your certificate while applying for EPIK, you can submit a couple required forms and inform us upon completion. EPIK offers a lot of benefits, but I just wanted to touch upon a few things that are worth mentioning. First, you will be provided a fully furnished single housing, and EPIK will provide an entrance and exit allowance as well as settlement allowance in the first month. Of course, they have paid vacation days, sick days, and health insurance. EPIK will also hold a mandatory orientation to prepare you guys for a smooth and easier transition, and it's a little over a week long. This is a general timeline for EPIK. Once the EPIK application is available for the upcoming semester, you can go ahead and work on your application. After submitting your application online, you are scheduled for EPIK interview. Once you pass the interview, you will be asked to submit all the final documents, which we will cover sometime later with another webinar. When you send all the documents, we will review and send them to EPIK. Once EPIK completes screening your documents and approves them, you will be recommended to the Office of Education. If they offer your job, that's when they will issue your contract and NOA. You will then bring these two into the nearest Korean consulate and apply for an E2 visa. Then there you go, that's how you come to Korea. The next few slides are going to be about application. So first, when you provide your availability for the interview, you need to write available time window, not just Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Make sure to write your available time in Korean Standard Time, not in your local time. If you ever visited or lived in another country for any reason, whether it was for travel, work, teaching, etc., you must list every country you've ever been. It doesn't matter how long or how short a stay was, you must list every country. Your mailing address is important because this will be used to send out your contract and an NOA later on, so please refrain from using a PO box. Your emergency contact information has to be one of the followings: immediate family members, relatives, or step family members. This means your boyfriend, girlfriend, fiancé, or friends cannot be your emergency contact. For your education background, you must list every school you have attended from elementary school to university. For U.S. applicants, we've seen this a lot. It's asking for city and country, not state. Please do not write down a name of state. Your GPA also has to match up with the one on your official transcripts. If you have access to your official transcripts, please do double check before you put down your GPA. For your current employment, this box cannot be left blank. If you're unemployed at the moment, write unemployed. If you're a recent graduate, write a recent graduate. People get confused with these two. A joint applicant is only for those who are legally married and apply for EPIK together. A joint applicant therefore must submit a copy of marriage certificate. If you're applying with your friend, you guys are not a joint applicant. However, there is a question under EPIK SSQ that asks if you're applying with anyone that's not a joint applicant, so you can mention it there. If you're married and plan to bring your spouse, he or she will be your dependent. Applicants with a dependent are required to submit other additional documents. Just note that these two are different. If you're homeschooled, you must submit a copy of high school diploma, high school transcripts, and this one is new, but a proof of letter from organization or agency that you went through, or your parents if they were the ones who homeschooled you, stating that you were homeschooled. If you're an immigrant and obtained an Australia citizenship or UK citizenship, you must submit a certificate of registration which look like this. It's for Australia and UK applicants because they have to submit apostilled birth certificate. If you received education outside of the 7 countries we talked about earlier, you must submit a letter from school stating that your school was an international school and classes were instructed in English. It has to include a few things such as an ink signature and a school stamp and school information. So what you're looking at right now is example 1. So it states that the school was an international school and the language of instruction is English. This is actually a better sample. It also has a letterhead, a date, applicant's full name, school information, the reference information, and etc. So if you received education outside of 7 countries, just keep in mind that you must obtain a letter something like this. For South Africa applicants, as I mentioned earlier, you must provide a proof of English education from 7th grade and up. Your letter doesn't have to state that it was an international school, but it has to state that the classes were taught in English or something along that line, and it has to include every point this letter has. For lesson plan, majority of schools in EPIK are elementary schools, so most likely you will be teaching from 3rd grade, which is age 10, and up. You can refer to the bullet points for how long each class is. One thing to note is that you're not prepping the students to go off to college abroad. Your main goal is to provide an English conversational environment. Please keep that in mind. Next, write your lesson plan in detail as if we can imagine being in your class and how it's going to be instructed just by reading your lesson plan. Bring in fun games and activities that you can make students get involved. That's also a good idea. Last but not least, proofread your lesson plan before you hit the submit button. Make sure there's no typo and that it makes sense. For personal essay, try not to go over the maximum words. Otherwise, the last bits will be squished with no space in between your words that it becomes unreadable. Short essays are concerning, but so are the exceeding word essays. Second, we all know that you want to experience Korean culture, but overemphasizing that doesn't necessarily make your application stand out. Yes, that's definitely a part of this whole journey, but it shouldn't be the main reason why you want to come to Korea. So show your professionalism. Next point is easy. Relevant answers to relevant questions, please. And again, please proofread your essays. We cannot stress this enough. You'll be surprised at how many typos we see in one essay. Your application is an official document that the Offices of Education will look at, so please proofread everything before submitting your application. I want to close this off with instruction on getting recommendation letters. First, you must submit 2 recommendation letters. They do not serve as a proof of teaching. The letters cannot be too old, meaning they must be written within the last 2 years. EPIK doesn't accept recommendation letters from online teaching job manager, TAs, parents of the child from nanny or babysitting jobs. You can also get a letter from ESL or TEFL instructor if you take over 120 in-class hours. This is a great example. It has a letterhead, organization information like mailing address and phone number, typed written dates, non-specific readings, applicant's full legal name. This is important. Do not write your nickname or whatever you go by. Your legal name has to be there. It also has to have an ink signature, reference his full name and job title, as well as contact information, both phone number and email address. Yes, EPIK does require both. This one was also a good example, but it was missing contact information on the letter, so the applicant included the reference's business card, so it was acceptable. So if your letter doesn't include a letterhead or contact information, make sure to attach a business card. These next two slides are unacceptable samples. The one on the left mentioned the specific recipient. This one even had a typo, but it's not acceptable if it has a specific greetings like to SMA program or to Korvia. The letter has to have non-specific greetings. The one on the right had the handwritten date, so the applicant had to get a revised one. This is the last example. This applicant unfortunately had to get a revised letter as well because it had a digital signature. Digital signatures are okay when you initially submit your application, but your recommendation letter has to have an ink signature when you submit final documents. Also, please note that an ink signature over a digital one is not acceptable, period. It's a big no, so make sure not to make this mistake because it will for sure delay the whole process. So altogether, remember for your recommendation letters, everything has to be typed except for the ink signature. It has to clearly state your relationship with the reference. Attach your business card if needed. Well, this is it, guys. We hope you find this webinar informative and helpful. And if you have questions, please do not hesitate to contact us at epik@korvia.com. Thank you once again for tuning in, and we hope you have a great day.